Superman is finally out, and there's been a lot of chatter online about this movie. Is it good? Is it bad? Were Zack Snyder fans right? Are James Gunn fans right? Who's right? What if I told you everyone's wrong? Hello everybody, welcome in. I just got out of Superman and I want to discuss with you my thoughts on this movie. I have a lot of thoughts, but first I just want to preface this with saying this is my spoiler-free review. I will be doing a full spoiler review, but for this one, we're gonna stick to nothing that'll spoil the movie for you. I'm only gonna be covering basic stuff and stuff that was covered in the trailers. So if it's in the trailers, it's kind of free game because we already knew it was coming, but otherwise, I'm not going to say anything. No secrets. I think when we talk about Superman, it's important that we start off with the man himself, the legend, Superman. Obviously, that's the title of the movie, so if you can't do that right, what are you even doing? So when it comes to Superman, I think this movie just completely nails it, to be honest with you. It clearly understands who Superman is as a character, what makes Clark Kent tick, all of those elements about what's important to the core of who that character is. And it nails all of that. Not only that, but I think this might be one of the best showcases in a live action movie that I've seen of Superman's entire sort of power set. Now, it doesn't have everything. There are, of course, a few things that are left out, but it really even gets into some of the nitty-gritty stuff. I think an element of this movie that a lot of people were predicting was that it was going to be very comic booky, and some people were worried about that because they thought it was actually going to be isolating for general audiences. Obviously, I'm a person that reads comic books, so I can't really fully comment on if I think, if I found it isolating as a general audience member, because I'm not that. But I will say, just based on someone that loves movies and loves cinema, even outside of comics, that I don't think that that's the case, or at least I hope that's not the case. I do think it's one of the best showcases, though, that I have really seen of utilizing so many elements of the comics and putting them in a movie where it feels cohesive and not just like, how do I put it? Not just Easter eggy, not just there for the sake of us being able to point and be like, hey, I know that frost breath. Whoa, look at that. Look at him go. He's got the heat vision, X-ray vision, those elements of the character. I think it's cool because it's there as part of the plot. It makes sense with the story and what's happening. So everything is just really well integrated. And when it comes to understanding character, the movie does not stop at Superman. It just keeps going. And I know I was one of the people too that was concerned that there are so many characters in this movie. And I thought, I'm a little bit worried because this is Superman's movie. So, if we have Justice Society in here, if we have Metamorpho in here, how are all of these things going to work together? Is it going to be too much? And is it going to take away from the main plot? Well, I'm here to tell you that I think everything was really beautifully woven into the main plot. So all of our supporting characters that we get here matter in terms of what's going on with Superman. For the most part, not every character is as well utilized as I would have liked. Not every character gets as much of their time in the spotlight. But what I really love about this movie is it lifts up characters like Metamorpho the Element Man and Mr. Terrific, who are characters that usually don't get the spotlight shone on them as much, at least not in comparison to someone like Superman. And what I love is that we're kind of using Superman here to help lift up some of these other supporting characters and showcase them in a way that is still integrated into everything that's happening in the movie. And I'm really excited because not only did it make me want to read more comics, but I'm really hoping that it will ignite in general audiences this desire to go back to the source material and check out these characters. It seems crazy, but it's like the idea of letting someone that, I don't know, loves comics like James Gunn, letting someone like that make a movie and have more creative input and control, where on this film, he wrote it, he directed, and he produced it as well. It's like the idea of that would be smart. Like we should, I don't know, get people that like comics to make comic book movies. Crazy idea, I know. It works really well. And that was something that I was always rooting for and that I was always hoping would hit the mark, just because I do know that James Gunn does have a personal attachment to a lot of this source material. So to see that love come through, and not just from his side of it. I mean, I really think the cast and crew also invested a lot in these characters. They really built up who these characters are, and not just from the superhero side. I also love Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. Oh my goodness. There are so many good scenes with Guy, and I just feel like he really nails the idea of who that character is. This like kind of lovable jerk, you know? I'm really hoping that bowl cuts come back as a result. But it's not just about the superheroes. It's also about our supporting cast that are not superheroes. I really loved what they did with the Daily Planet. I really loved Lois in this. If you can't tell, I actually cosplayed as Lois to go to the movie. I just saw a lot of people cosplaying online, and like everyone's been doing Superman and everyone's been doing Supergirl. And I'm like, where's that Lois representation though? Because Lois is really cool, and she is a hero in her own right. And I think this film does a great job of even showcasing that. But beyond that, it's not just about Lois as a reporter and all of the folks that work at the Daily Planet who are also kind of heroes in a journalistic sense. It's also about her relationship with Superman, and something that I think I expected there to be an element of this, but what really surprised me about Superman is that I feel like it's a lot more of a romance story than you maybe thought going in. A lot of it is really about Superman and Lois's relationship, and I loved it. I think they showcased their relationship beautifully. It felt so real. It felt so grounded. And man, I mean, I always was a big fan of the ship of Superman and Lois together, but this is just adding to my love of the ship because it works so well. And I love the way that these characters complement each other. Also, the chemistry between David and Rachel on screen, it's just electric. Overall, this is a great ensemble cast, but it's not just about the characters popping in terms of who they are and the scenes and them talking to each other and all of that stuff and the kissing. It's also about the fighting. The fighting is so great in this because these characters aren't just understood in terms of who they are inside their hearts and inside their minds and their souls, but also in terms of their power sets. And the power sets are so beautifully showcased on the screen. Also, the special effects look great. I think what I really loved about this movie is that all of the elements of it really came together in a way that allowed me to just escape into the movie. I watch a lot of superhero content, and I can't help sometimes but have a part of my brain on at all times that is just analyzing it, comparing it to comics. All of that stuff is working, and me thinking about stereotypes and tropes and things that I've seen time and time again, because superheroes especially I find can be quite cyclical. So there's just a part of your brain that's always thinking about what does this plot point mean and where is it taking us? And I quickly kind of just melted into this film, and it just took me for a ride, and I had a great time. And it's been a while since that's happened to me. Of course, my brain is still on working, analyzing the film, but I just had a fun time with it. It was like a really lovely joyride. I got swept up in emotion. Honestly, it was inspirational. And I think right now, especially with the way the world is, not only does this movie have a lot to say about that, but it brings a sense of hope. And if there's ever anything that I could say Superman represents, if I had to sum him up in one word, I think hope would be the key word here. And it's making commentary on things like war, on things like social media, in a way that acknowledges, I think, you know, some larger broad strokes of what's going on in the world, but also gives us the optimism that these are elements of our lives that we have the power to kind of, you know, change or shape, and that humanity at its core is not negative, is not hurtful. There is hope there. And Superman is one of those characters that is so human, despite the fact that he is an alien from another planet. I loved that element of it, and I loved how it showcased the humanity of Superman, and that being an element that we can all connect to. Because when you have a character like him that is so powerful, that is kind of this idyllic Adonis, it is hard, I think, sometimes to write that character and make them feel relatable, but that is always who Superman has been. He's the most human, even though he's from Krypton, you know what I mean? He was raised on Earth, and I think that's just beautifully showcased throughout. In terms of the plots, is there anything that I want to say about that? Yeah, just that they kind of showcased what's happening here. It's interesting because it's not an origin story, and I love the fact that it's not an origin story. We're kind of dropped right into the action. So, and this is like, it's not really a criticism, it's just something that I think people will experience, and I would say stick with it and you're gonna have a fun time. When you start the film, the first 20 minutes or so of the movie are a little bit jarring, in my opinion, because it drops you right into the action. Superman has been Superman for a few years, and we're kind of just going through a journey where he really gets to discover who he is and really confirm that for himself. That's what the story is really about, is his arc as a character. But it's not about introducing us to the character with a bunch of exposition. It never feels tedious. It always feels like a fun adventure that we are on with Superman, which is why I really liked it. It's not a origin story. However, when it comes to understanding who the character is, it's a great introduction to a character like Superman without bogging you down with exposition. And I loved that. I thought that was very well done. Now, of course, this isn't a film that is a perfect film, but what I will say about it is a film that is making me reassess all of my ratings that I've given to films earlier in the year, because this film really raised the bar for me, especially in terms of superhero content. It just made me realize that I think I've been settling for some stuff and giving maybe some productions more benefit of the doubt than they deserved, because this is a movie where a lot of the elements of the film, when it comes to the way that it's shot, when it comes to the showcasing of characters, the writing, even the costumes, the production design, the effects, it's just everything is on a higher level. Overall, I would give this film, I think, a very high 4 out of 5. But like I said, it's also a 4 out of 5 that's going to probably make me lower other scores that I've given, because I do think there's room for improvement. I can't really get into a ton of that in this review, just because a lot of the stuff I want to talk about, it's more detailed, it's kind of spoilery. So what I am going to say is I will say, stay tuned for my spoiler-filled review, and we'll talk a little bit more about my constructive criticism for the movie and what I would love to see explored more as we continue on. Hopefully we get to continue on with the DC universe. But yeah, overall, I really, really liked it, and I hope that you get a chance to go see it. I hope you can see it in theaters if that's possible for you. I saw it. I probably will go see it again. It was just a really fun time. So that's where I'm at. That's all I have for this one. Let me know your thoughts on Superman so far down in the comments below. Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? Are you excited? Are you dreading? Let me know where you're at. I'll see you down there. And until next time, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye!